All right, let's talk about marathon nutrition. There is so much advice out there, it's hard to know what's real and what's just noise. So today we're cutting through all of that and focusing on one thing, the data. We're going to build a complete fueling strategy from the ground up based on scientific research and what the numbers actually tell us. Let's get right into it. Everything, and I mean everything, about fueling for a marathon comes down to this one simple question. It seems straightforward, right? But the answer reveals a fundamental math problem that every single runner has to solve.
And here it is. This is the problem laid out in black and white. Look at that top row. On average, a runner is going to burn about 2,600 calories to get to that finish line. But now look at the row right below it. Your body, even when it's totally maxed out, can only store around 2,000 calories of its best fuel source, which is glycogen. You see the issue? You are starting the race with a 600-calorie hole in your budget. That's not a maybe, that's just the math.
So that energy gap we just saw, that is what runners call the wall. It's not some mythical beast. It's a very real, very predictable moment when your body's fuel tank simply runs dry. It's not a failure of mental toughness, it's a failure of fueling.
Okay, so where is this 2,000-calorie stash even located? Well, as you can see here, the lion's share is stored right in your muscles. That's your high-octane fuel for running. Then you've got a smaller but super important reserve in your liver, which keeps your brain happy and your blood sugar stable. But here's the thing. You add them both together, and even on your best day, you're starting the race underfunded. The whole game is about managing this deficit.
So how do we start to close that gap? The number one strategy, the one that makes the biggest difference before you even toe the line, is carb-loading. And no, this isn't just an excuse for a huge pasta dinner. It's a scientific method to actually overfill your glycogen stores and get that 2,000-calorie tank as full as humanly possible.
Now, this is where the science gets really cool. The old school way, the classic protocol, was pretty brutal. You'd basically starve your body of carbs for a few days to make it extra hungry for them later. But what modern research has shown is that you can get the exact same results with none of the misery. The modern protocol just combines your regular training taper with a really high carb intake. You get all the benefits without wrecking your body right before the race.
Okay, so what does high carb intake actually mean? This is the number you need to know. Sports science says to shoot for 7 to 12 grams of carbohydrates for every kilogram you weigh, every day for those 2 or 3 days before the race. So let's say you're a 70-kilogram runner, that's a whopping 490 to 840 grams of carbs a day. That's a huge amount of food, but that's the quantitative target you're aiming for.
But listen, not all carbs are created equal when you're trying to load up. This is a perfect example. A dish like jjajangmyeon is packed with carbs, for sure, but look at that fat content, over 21 grams. Compare that to a simple pasta dish, which might only have 2 to 5 grams of fat. All that extra fat just slows down digestion and can cause all sorts of stomach issues on race day. The data here is crystal clear. You want to prioritize high carb, but also low-fat foods.
Fuel is only half the battle, though. The other piece of the puzzle is hydration. And the science here points to one hero ingredient that often gets overlooked: sodium. It's not just about how much water you drink, it's about how much of that water your body can actually hold on to.
And check this out. Before we even get to the race, there's a huge problem. This study found that nearly a third of amateur athletes are showing up to their workouts already dehydrated. You just can't win the hydration game if you're starting from behind.
And here's the flip side of that coin, which can be even more dangerous. A study of Ironman athletes, these are serious competitors, found that 10% of them finished their race with hyponatremia. And the crazy thing is, this isn't caused by drinking too little. It's caused by drinking too much plain water and not replacing electrolytes. So what on earth is hyponatremia? Well, it's a really serious condition where the sodium levels in your blood get dangerously diluted. You're sweating out all this salt, but you're only putting plain water back in. It can cause dizziness, confusion, and in the worst cases, it can be life-threatening. This is exactly why water alone just isn't enough. And the science on this is rock solid. It even comes from places you wouldn't expect, like NASA. They were trying to figure out how to keep astronauts hydrated in space, and they found a very direct link. The more sodium in a drink, the better your body is at holding on to that fluid and expanding your blood volume. This chart shows the NASA research in action. Look at plain water. You drink it, and most of it just passes right through you. A regular sports drink is a little better, but look at the far right. A high-sodium preloading drink with about 1,500 milligrams of sodium is dramatically more effective. It literally helps you store extra fluid in your bloodstream before the race even starts.
Okay, so we've carb-loaded, we've pre-hydrated with sodium. Now it's race day. Let's look at the data, what the science says we should be doing versus what most of us are actually doing.
Here are the gold standard targets from the American College of Sports Medicine. Every hour, you should be aiming for this: 400 to 800 milliliters of fluid, a solid 60 to 90 grams of carbs, and 300 to 600 milligrams of sodium. Burn these numbers into your brain.
Now, let's look at reality. A 2022 study looked at what marathoners actually consumed. Fluid intake? It's on the low end of okay. But look at the carbs and sodium. The average runner took in only 35 grams of carbs per hour. That's barely half of the minimum recommendation. And sodium was way down at 192 milligrams. The data shows a huge gap between what works and what people do.
And why does that gap matter so much? Because this is the key finding from that same study. The runners who actually hit that 60 to 90 gram per hour carbohydrate target were way more likely to break that coveted 3-hour marathon barrier. This is a direct, data-proven link between fueling properly and running faster, period.
Okay, we have looked at a ton of data: the problems, the science, and the real-world results. Now, let's put it all together into a simple, actionable blueprint you can use for your own race.
Here it is, your 4-step plan. Step 1. For 3 days before the race, you nail your carb load target, 7 to 12 grams per kilogram. Step 2. The night before and again about 90 minutes before the gun, you do your sodium preload with a high electrolyte drink. Step 3. 3 to 4 hours before the start, you top off your tank with some easy-to-digest carbs. And finally, Step 4, during the race, you just execute the plan. You aim for those ACSM targets we talked about.
And to make all of that work, you just need to follow a few simple principles. First, fuel by the numbers, not just how you feel. Your body can lie to you, but the data won't. Second, pick the right carbs, low in fat and fiber. And the most important rule of all, you have to test everything, every gel, every drink, your whole breakfast, during your long training runs. Race day is for execution, not experimentation.
So there you have it. We've walked through the science, the studies, and the stats. The numbers tell a really clear story about how to set yourself up for success. So the only question left is, now that you have the data, how are you going to use it? Thanks for tuning in.